Hi, Brittany McKinney here doing our journal number 4 assignment for this semester. And we are rolling right along on to competency 8, which is going to be intervene with individuals, families, groups, organizations, and communities. To start off the assignment, it says provide a brief summary of what we have completed. I believe it told us to do a comparison to Social Work 622's interventions of practice online assignments. However, I do think that in that course, we ended up doing an in-class assignment right now that I can think of relating this to. The most recent class that we had in my family systems, we kind of broke into like panel groups, and we'll do that quite often in that class to where one group will be the panel of therapists and like the other group will have the scenario, and we kind of look through which different theories and competencies that we can use to treat these mock clients. I believe that we had a family the other day. My panel and I chose to use Bowen's family systems and broke down how their genogram could be used in their primary treatment. That's just one example of some of the ways that I believe that we have used assessments while working with individuals and families. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. How does the assignment relate to your practicum? Well, my practicum is at it's at a therapy office. We do a lot of trauma work. And so within trauma work, we are kind of breaking down to look at more than just who the individual is, but where they come from, significant traumas, trauma lines, the somatic systems that they may carry through some of the trauma that they've experienced. And then also when it says to be culturally responsive, we'll always use cultural competencies when it comes to our competencies. I think this is a really big one though, because for instance, one culture may see their heritage as being prideful. Like, I don't want to think of a specific example, while another culture may think that like not working isn't good. And so I think just being aware of who you're treating and kind of some of the significant differences that they've had in their culture that have changed like who they are right now. Apply knowledge of social behavior, person, environment, culturally responsible, interprofessional collaboration. I think that we do a good job of this doing treatment team. I really like treatment team because we get different perspectives about the situation and about who we're working with. Um, I think it also lets us use our lived experiences to help maybe somebody else get an idea of how we get to see something. And I think it just keeps us always evolving into learning a little bit more. It says that you can use this competency to provide leadership in development, admin, eval, clinical supervision, in policy creation, reform, and implementation, and to help effective transition and endings that advance mutually developed goals. So by looking at working in this model, I think that we are working on identifying like what interventions have worked before in the family dynamic and even in the individual setting. It says, how have you engaged in the behavior toward this competency at your agency? I think anytime that we're making treatment plans, we're doing evaluations or biopsychosocials, we are ultimately like already looking into these variables within those client systems. Discuss what you're doing in your practicum. We've been working on a new policy manual. I think I've also been working on some like treatment modalities, like whenever we get a client after their biopsych and their assessment is coming up, we have a new SUD department opening up. And so within that, there's been like learning how to do the intake and the assessment and then get them divvied out to the department that will benefit them, like getting their people assigned to them, like basically like working what a treatment team would look like, because we've kind of built different departments at my agency since I've started there. Describe your strengths and your experiences at your agency. I still think one of my strengths is just kind of being utility. I think that working in the behavioral health field for a few years, I've gotten the chance to see how a lot of things operate. And I just have a mind that is always like, okay, what's next? I think that I like for our department to have some expectations and some guidelines. I took policy pretty serious this semester, and I really liked learning about our statutes and why they are what they are, and how that we can implement them. And because our company was pretty small when I first started, and we've expanded quite a bit. And I've tried to use some of these assignments to better help our agency and it not just be me doing an assignment for no reason. Well, other than my coursework. Um, how has your experiences challenged you or helped you grow as a professional, master's level social work and training? I'm starting to see that some of my experiences in life, like as far as like going through the court system and custody things with my children, facing judicial charges whenever I was younger and walking through that out, and kind of just having like lived experience in some tough settings. I think it's kind of given me, I don't want to say thicker skin, but I think that it's given me the ability to help people bring a strengths perspective to some tough situations that they're going through. Um, yeah, and I'm a very solution focused person as well. And so I think that going through some of my experiences, it makes me a stronger clinician, but I also need to know when to wind that down because I can't rob people of their pain. That's something that I know that has kind of made me who I am a little bit. And not that I want to see the world hurt, because I don't think that social workers do good at all with that. But learning where, my line of personal values stops, and when I have to allow somebody the process of figuring it out on their own too. Discuss the feedback you've received during supervision and how you're using the feedback. We talked a lot about my PRE exam the last few weeks. I've been pretty nervous about it. I'm not a good test taker. Uh, I'm supposed to actually utilize some of the SARC recommendations because I'd been on a scholarship for book rehab, just kind of through my learning disabilities with like ADHD and coming back into education from recovery. However, I think for the most part, I've overcome a lot of those anxieties. I do still get a lot of testing fear. I did okay on my PRE though. I was very honest when taking it, and it gave me a little bit of faith that I'll be okay when I take my exam. But I think my supervisor just kind of still encourages me to like not think too hard about it and like to go ahead and get that test scheduled because I've put it off, and so I should probably take care of that too. What are your thoughts or feelings related to your progress as a professional social worker in training? I'm ready to be done. I am. I am excited to close this chapter and really step out into the field. I know that, I've done a lot of those things already. However, to be a practicing clinician, hopefully by passing my CSW, I'm ready to take the next step and continue to evolve into those skills and eventually go into those specialty modalities that I'm interested in. I'm going to do EMDR training in September. I'm pretty excited about that. And then I was also like faced with the question in supervision, like what demographic of people I wanted to serve, and am I going to be seeing kids? And at first, I didn't really know the answer to that, and I've still been kind of ruminating on it some. But I may be interested in seeing kids, but if that's the case, I would like to get my more knowledge between like play therapy and, just utilizing different skill sets with that population. Um, what ADEI practices have you observed in your agency? Provide examples where you have others have implemented these practices. I still think that we have quite a bit of diversity in my agency between rural populations, the LGBTQ community. Um, sorry, my dogs are going to bark. SA victims that we work with firsthand trauma, kind of corresponding with them back and forth to other providers. So I believe that we're kind of just very inclusive at my agency. I kind of still say that we're the island of misfit toys because we are all just kind of pretty quirky in our own way. But I'm okay with that. Review of your current self plan. What have you done for self care? I've been very lazy this weekend and I kind of just chilled with my family. It's been raining quite a bit. Luckily, we're okay. We don't have any damage or like running water near us. However, I'm from Butler County, and a lot of my family and friends are already from a rural area with not a lot of resources, or even let's even say have homeowners insurance. And so kind of seeing them lose their stuff, it's been a little bit of emotionally taxing on me this weekend. And I ended up like wanting to put my cape on and go round up milk because there's none in the store there, and all of the things, which isn't bad by no means. But I also had to take care of myself this week and do some medical appointments. And yeah, it's not been very fun, but I did what I needed to do and made some appointments for myself for once. So that is self care. What worked? What was the barrier obstacle for self care during this time? I think that no matter what, how much time I try to plan to be like, okay, you're going to have a procedure on this day, and maybe you'll miss work this day, but then you'll come back on this day. Or if you could swing this, always finding the juggling act. But I tend to forget that I am almost 35 and I just had a baby, and my body will tell me to sit down sometimes, and my brain doesn't like that very much. So I think that some like a burial obstacle is that I'm pretty new postpartum still, and I would like to get up and get moving a little bit more. And so I think when school is out, hopefully I can try to relax and enjoy the summer and the Sundays that I would typically be cramming homework and notes and all of the things. Maybe I can try to get up and moving a little bit more for myself. Couple weeks, we are almost there. Do you anticipate any upcoming barriers? I just think graduation, I just keep telling everybody, I'm like, you know what, like 3 more weeks. I kind of have a bad Oreo habit right now at night, particularly 8 at a time. And so that's kind of a barrier because I don't like whenever I'm just eating like trash because I think you feel like trash after that. However, they make me feel a little bit better about life. So we're going to go with it right now. And then what is the plan for self-care emergencies? I've utilized some help with my family, just even having them watch the babies for a couple hours where I typically wouldn't even want to bother with that. So I think, for days that I'm kind of short-stemmed and I need just a little bit of time to myself, I've done a lot better about asking for help with that. How will your plans change? My plans will always change. I have 15 kids, 5 dogs, chickens, and we have the weather in Kentucky, so you just never know. And then also I work with a population that you can't really predict it either. Just hope there's not a full moon this week. And then how will you track the progress of your self-care plan? My spiritual conditioning. I think, my level of patience and my communication within like the teamwork of my home. Um, I really I do a lot better when there's systems in place. However, sometimes I get a little off kilter there and I need to get back aligned. And so I think just kind of keeping up with where I'm at mentally and just paying attention to how I'm doing, like overall. I believe that wraps up this assignment for our competency, and I think we have one more left for this semester. Appreciate your time, and I hope you have a good evening.